much, Mary Frances, and thank you so much to everyone who showed up. District 1, representing District 1 is an ambitious undertaking. It's a geographically diverse district with homeowners associations that are very organized and constituents that really demand accountability. So we're so glad that the candidates showed up today to give us an opportunity to gauge where they stand on the issues important to constituents here. Now, before we get started on the questions that we have prepared with you.
Thank you, Maria. I'm Ann Morgan Lilly. I'm a third generation El Pasoan. My grandfather came here in 1893 as a bricklayer, and eventually he owned his own construction company. When his wife died in 1915 of the flu epidemic, he started St. Margaret's Orphanage in her name. So we've always been a big part of his community. The community has been very...
Thank you for having me here this evening. I moved here in 1997, and I chose to make El Paso my home because I see so much potential. My first job here was with Benton County Attorney Jose Rodriguez, and I was prosecuting child abuse cases. I then opened my own practice, and that's what I've been doing ever since then, running a small business. I believe in accountability. I was recently appointed to the MH&R board, and that was because we needed to restore faith in a system that quite clearly was broken. I've been running a very grassroots campaign because my goal is to reach out to all of my constituents. There's no special interest for me. There's no money coming from anyone but you all, my neighbors, small businesses.
I'm also locally on the El Paso County Ethics Board, and I am a volunteer counselor at a homeless shelter for women, and I'll save the rest of my time for further discussion.
Let's begin with the first question. We'll start with you, Representative Lilly. What are your thoughts on certificates of obligation? These are voted on by City Council with very little or no input from citizens, and you will have 90 seconds for your answer.
Well, certificates of obligation make the city move forward. There's so many decisions that we have to make that we cannot possibly go back, or could the city afford for us to go back and have an election question every time something concerning money came up. So it is a way that came about, I think, in the mid-90s to have the city fund projects going forward. So certificates of obligation, as far as I can tell, do work. Now, I do get plenty of input from my constituents when something comes up concerning a constituent problem or something they see that will be good for the city and needs a certificate of obligation. So I don't have a problem.
Mr. Schechter?
This question comes up every election because there are people that feel real strongly one way or the other. I have some problems with certificates of obligation, but the bigger problem is that whether it's a certificate of obligation, a revenue bond, or any other debt obligation, it's something that you're paying with money you don't have, and you're repaying it with money in the future. It's like your credit card. And as we've all seen with this recession, people that had too much on their credit card ended up being in real deep trouble. So most Americans have been paying down their debt. The opposite has been going on in El Paso. Our current city government has been piling on the debt, piling it on again and again and again. And I have a problem with that because as a taxpayer, my taxes have to go up in order to be able to repay that debt. So regardless of whether it's certificates of obligation or any other debt instrument, I think we need to hold the line and start becoming physically restrained and live within our means.
Mr. Hinojosa?
Well, it's my understanding there's two categories. A category that can be voted on by the people, which of course should be that way, and it should be justified, and it should be reported openly and frequently and easy to get to what the cost benefit of every single thing we vote on is. The other type, as she mentioned, with all due respect to Ms. Lilly, this thing about decisions that we have to make and we don't have time to let everyone else in on it, That's what I call trustee government. We were not elected to be trustees of El Paso. We're elected to be representatives. And I intend for every one of you to have access to every decision we make. I believe in a 24/7 town hall availability to you through the internet. So no more decisions without your input.
Ms. Ness Garcia.
Thank you. Philosophically, I am opposed to them. I think they have to be used as a last resort. I'm talking specifically about the ones that are imposed by the city government. I think that you're basically incurring a debt that's going to be called in at any time without any input from us as the taxpayer to the citizens. So philosophically, the less government intrusion, the better.
Dr. Ware Asbury.
I really believe that any major decision that has to be made, there's a time that we can give to citizens to provide input. Whether it is a short period of time, you should make the effort to allow citizens to provide input on which direction our money is spent and which direction the city is moving into. I would also like to take the time to say, I would like to do further study on certificates of obligation and see what the substance of these pieces of paper are.
The next question is, please identify your top 3 donors and explain any commitments you have made to them. Commit Lily will begin with you.
My top 3 donors, well, I'm one. I'm number 1. And I'm committed to do the best job I can for this city. Next, I guess, is Bob White. I've made no commitment to him. He's asking for none, and I've made none. And I guess the next one is Tripper Goodman, and I hardly know him, and I've made no commitment.
Representative Lilly, Citizens for Prosperity, the Political Action Committee, donated a significant amount of money to your campaign. Have you made any
They did
commitments?
it in kind. They bought signs and now T-shirts, and they sent out 1 card, and I have no commitment to them whatsoever.
Mr. Schechter?
I have no donors. Ask anybody to donate anything, don't accept any donations. And the reason, well, I would just ask you as an example, if you saw an ad in the paper for a job, call me up, and I said, give me $25,000 and I'll hire you. How many people in the audience would give me $25,000? I don't think this is a job where you need to get donations.
Mr. Hinojosa?
Yes, I'm operating on about 1/10 of what some of my competitors are operating on. But then again, I can do 10 times more with it than they can. My operating budget, I myself started off with a $2,000 credit card. And since then, I've received about another $1,500 to $2,000 is all. And I expect to get maybe $2,000 more, and that's all I need. Thank you very much.
Okay, Lori Hoffman donated $350 to you, Barbara Carrasco $250. Those are some of your biggest contributors. Have you made any commitments to them?
No commitments that I haven't made to everyone else, and that is to serve you and give you your money's worth.
Ms. Ness Garcia?
My number 1 donor was my dad, and I guess the commitment to him is to be a beautiful daughter is what he would probably want me to say. My second donor was myself. My law office loaned me money, and I believe my 3rd donor is the highest donor is Bill Ellis, if I'm not mistaken. Bill Ellis is an attorney. He's actually offices right next door to me. I've known him for 10 years, and right now he works for Sheriff Watts, and I believe he was the
The 3rd with $500. Dr. Ware Asbury?
My biggest donor has been myself. And I had a fundraiser last week where a number of people contributed various amounts of money. And I like to say that I have made a commitment to do this job and do it well, to serve the citizens of District 1 at the expense of myself. I am a 100% disabled veteran, and if I take this job, I stand to lose my Social Security disability. But that's the choice I have made, I chose to serve my country and put my life on the line, and I have chosen to serve my community and put my health and my income on the line. I am that dedicated.
The third question, this is a large and geographically diverse district with many neighborhood associations.